Welcome to Go Solo Live.
Don't you mean go solo live? Have you ever been asked why on earth would you travel alone? Go Solo Live not only answers that question, but celebrates life as a midlife solo traveler. This is a safe place for women to come together to reminisce about their travels, encourage others to travel, and to dig into the real lessons learned from these journeys. Now join Jennifer Buchholz with Transform Via Travel as she and her guests share stories of the solo travelers of midlife women.
Hello, sisters, and welcome to Go Solo Live. This is Jennifer Buchholz with Transform Via Travel. It's time to grab a cup of coffee and sit back and enjoy my conversation with Melisa Berg as she shares about her solo travel adventures. Welcome, Melisa.
Hey, Jennifer, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. And did you know this is my first ever podcast?
Well, I'm sure it's the first of many because you have some great stories to share.
Thanks.
So we're going to dig right in. And as much as I love talking about where you go and what you did, I would like you to start by sharing with my audience a bit about what was going on in your life and a little bit just about who you are when you decided, okay, I'm ready to go travel alone.
Yeah, absolutely. What was going on in my life is I was feeling stuck, disinterested. I didn't really seem to enjoy the activities I once loved. Everything just kind of seemed mundane. And I just started looking around, and of course, who doesn't want to go to, an island somewhere, or the water, the beach, the sun. And with 3 young kids and a husband working, both of us working full time, it was just, well, how are we going to make that happen? So I started looking at, maybe I should make it happen for myself. But I didn't really think about that because who travels alone or who goes on a vacation alone? I didn't know anyone that did that. So I just started looking online, and it just so happened I was in a group of women, a closed Facebook group, and they were putting on a yoga retreat in Mexico. And I thought, well, I like yoga. In Mexico, I've never been to Mexico. So I started thinking about it, started asking questions, started commenting on their posts, and they just grabbed me, took me right in and said, yeah, you got to come. And I thought to myself, well, I don't even know you. So we had a phone call and with one of the ladies that was putting it on, and I started to get really excited. And then I just told my husband, I'm going on this trip.
How did he take it? Because this can be a big, okay, the fact that you were fantasizing about traveling alone and getting to go do yoga in Mexico, that sounds like this wonderful fantasy that many women could live off of for this, when my kids get older, I will.
Yep. Well, and it was one of the first things that I've ever really done so I took some time to think about it and research it and talk to the people, but it was for me a really big shift in even deciding that I was going to go do it. Not only just looking at it, fantasizing about it, putting it on my Pinterest board, because we all know what we do with our Pinterest boards. We put them up there, and like my husband said, oh, is this going to be one of those Pinterest meals that we never, I never see. But anyway, so that's kind of what it was, is that my fantasy, my wish list, of things that I want to do. And of course, would I want my husband to come with me? Absolutely. But, well, one, he's not interested in a yoga retreat, and plus it really wasn't for men. But yeah, so I kept talking to him about it, and I don't think he really thought I was serious. And then when I finally, I was watching airline price alerts, those type of thing. And then when I got one, it was Thanksgiving weekend, and I got a alert, lowest price. I just bought it. And then so then I was telling everyone at the table, so what's going on? I'm like, well, I'm going to Mexico in 2 months. And everybody just looked at me. So that I guess I was going. And then, of course, so that's just how that happened. And when I didn't even tell anyone at work I was going. I didn't even tell anyone at work.
How come?
It was for me. I didn't want to hear the negative, the negative Nellies and things like that of, why are you doing that? Or why aren't you going with your family? Or who do you think you are, kind of thing. This was for me. And I kept it to myself because it was only for me to cherish, and probably a little bit of fear too. And mostly the fear of what they were going to say to me. not the fear of going. I already had enough anxiety about that, but just the worry, the fear of what were they going to think of me. And so it was the weekend before I had to leave. And then they were talking at work, like, we have this meeting next week. And I just said, oh, I won't be there. Oh, where are you going? Somewhere fun? And I just said, yep, I'm going to Mexico. I'll see you in a week. And I left for work. I left work. So they just kind of sat there like, what? You're doing what? And so I went on my trip. And when I came back to work, I think they thought I was kidding.
Okay. That's a lot of good stuff. So your husband was supportive.
He was supportive of, absolutely. He was supportive. Yes. Did he think it was a great idea? No.
That's okay.
Yep.
That's okay. Okay. So you also strategically blocked any naysayers from this. You just decided I'm not sharing. Right. Okay. But there,
Yep.
there was some sort of, I don't need to engage or invite feedback unless I want that.
Right.
So, good. So let's get into the stories, because you've made it happen, and you've shared with me a little bit of what the adventure was, and it sure was an adventure. So
it sure was.
Start wherever you want.
Yeah. And so it finally came. I was really nervous, like for weeks leading up to it. I mean, I had anxiety. I was nervous. I'm going to a foreign country. I needed a passport. I was going alone. I don't speak the language. I don't know the money, but I'm like, I don't know anyone. I don't know anyone going. I'm still to this day, I'm like, what? Who is this person? So anyway, I get to the airport early. My husband drops me off, and I'm standing in line and going through, the cut. That's a whole new thing. I've been just traveling in the United States as well. So I'm figuring that all out, and finally get to where I needed to be. I'm in the airport at the gate, and when I got to the airport, they said, you don't have a seat. You just have to wait. You don't have a seat like number or whatever.
Okay.
When you get to the gate, they're figuring things out. But I didn't know any. I'm like, okay, so whatever. I got to the gate super early, and then it's creeping closer and closer and closer to, like, they're getting ready to announce the flight. They announced the flight. They still haven't I haven't had my name called. So I kept going up to the, booth or whatever, and hey, and the lady was so irritating. And she was probably irritated with me, but I don't know why. And I kept saying, like, I bought this ticket. This is my flight. And everything is so dependent on me making this flight, because the people are waiting for me. I have a transfer. I have a ride. I have to make my flight. The gate is almost closing. They overbooked the flight, crazy. And everyone was going to a warm vacation. So there's a lot of people, there, and lots of groups were trying to sit together. So they were trying to accommodate all of these.
Oh my God.
It wasn't even spring break yet, but all these people trying to go. So anyway, I finally squeak in, like, door closing. They get me on. So I am like sweat and tears and just relief and just crazy. And that's probably should have been a sign of what was to come. But I just was like, hey, I'm on the flight.
I made it. We're good.
I made it. I'm on there. I made it. So far, I made it on the flight. So that's where it started.
Okay.
Finally, do my connecting flight. That's all good and everything. Then I land in Mexico in an airport that is nothing like airports in the United States that I'm used to. And their customs is not, I was shocked, and I didn't know what to do. And so I just started asking people, like, is this what you do? So you kind of get in that, how you corral kind of, and it's hot and smelly and gross. And finally get up to the counter and customs, and, I'm just shaking. I don't know why. There's nothing wrong. I didn't do anything wrong, but, you're just fearful. And then they don't really speak any English. So get through that. I'm like, oh, I made it. Made it again. Then I go and look for the rental company that's going to be taking me, the van, taking me to my retreat place. So they told me to look for the sign. Your name will be on a sign. They're going to be holding it up. So don't talk to anybody. Don't get hooked into anything because people will try to get you to do all these things. And so I did. I put the blinders on and I'm walking, going to where they told me to go. I find it. There's nobody holding up a sign with my name. Okay, so I stood in the place and watching the clock, like, okay, this is when things are supposed to be happening. I started asking around, and a lot of the people who are working that are taking people to places that are holding up signs don't really speak a lot of English, or it's broken. I couldn't find anyone enough to understand me. Finally, after a while, I found the company, because I know what the van rental company is. So I go up to these two gentlemen and show him my name, and I'm looking for this. Oh, no.
What?
No, we don't have you.
No.
And so they're like, stand here. Well, stand here became a series of, get on this van, take you to a different terminal. Nope, we're at the wrong terminal. Go back to this terminal. This went on for hours and hours and hours of me getting on and off with all of these rental places, or I don't even know if they were. And so I finally got left in the rain, pouring rain, at the airport I originally arrived at, not knowing I don't have any way of contacting people. My self-service did not work after landing. I stood there. So finally, it's like evening time. I'm already supposed to be at the retreat at this place time. So finally, this guy, taking pity on me, kept trying in his broken English, and me with knowing nothing about Spanish. He finally gets me, you go here, you get in this van, we take you.
Oh boy.
Now, when I think about that, at the time, this has been hours and hours and hours. I'm cold, I'm wet. I've been standing. I thought, what am I doing? I should not get in this van.
Right.
Like, what am I doing?
Right.
I got in the van.
Okay. You would just kill one of your children if they
oh my God.
do that.
Like, I don't even know that my mom can probably listen to this and be like, what? But yes. And so I'm driving, and an hour goes by, hour and a half goes by. So finally we arrive at the place, and they brought me, they got me there, but it is like late, like 5 hours after I was already supposed to be there. I missed the whole welcome, reception, everything.
Okay.
We got in the property. They had no idea where to go. I mean, and it just continues. This was the first day, like my first day of traveling. So we finally find the ladies, kind of figure out everything, and then we'll just start in the morning. So yeah, like crazy. The adventure hadn't even really started yet. I mean, it did. I traveled, but I wasn't even really starting yet. And oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got there.
Yes.
How did you shift gears? Because you had been in this, you had anxiety.
Oh.
That all of those feelings and fears kept coming back up.
Yep.
And now you're in a place of peace, and you're in a place where you're supposed to kind of like, I don't know, relax. It's yoga, like get centered. How were you able to shift gears?
Well, I woke up in the morning just thankful that I was where I arrived. I was safe. Nothing happened to me. I finally got to where I needed to be. I met the people, and I just decided, like, I'm at my trip now. I'm doing this. This is what I wanted to do. So I, began to immerse myself in the surroundings, which were beautiful, and just really to take it all in. And so that was it was what I was waiting for. And, I want to say that the rest of everything was just went off as supposed to be, but it didn't. I got lost a couple other times. Things happen. Our place where we stayed flooded.
What?
They had a washer in the unit, and the water flooded. So we woke up to water all over the floor one of the mornings. I got left when we were supposed to go to the beach, because it wasn't on a beach. It was in the jungle part. So we were supposed to go meet everyone. Well, they had left, and I wasn't there at that time. And so I was at the property by myself. So what I did was I, again, went around asking the property people at the property that were working, like, hey, I want to go to the beach. Can you just take me? So again, I got on these series of carts taking me to these places. So they finally said, well, we can't take you to any resorts because you have to be a guest. You have to wear a wristband to be in any of these resorts. I said, I don't care. Drop me off at the door. They did. I went in. So I sat on these private beaches. No one came and told me to get off. They didn't, I didn't get any service or, anything like that.
Sure.
And so I'm upset. I'm sad. I'm lonely. But then I looked out and I said, I'm on a beach looking at beautiful ocean, water. I'm watching these families playing and people. And I just found a chair. Again, they didn't tell me to leave or anything. I walked up and down the beach. I played in the water. I watched people. I took a couple selfies. And then I thought, okay, I probably should get back. It's going to be dinner time. So again, I found a series of getting back by just asking people, flagging down, and they probably took pity on this American woman. And they just brought me to where I needed to be.
Right.
So I just had to trust and just really trust that I was going to be safe and that God would get me to where I needed to be. And I couldn't call anyone. I couldn't ask, for any assistance because I didn't have any service. And so it's just different things like that kept coming up throughout the days there. And I had to just believe in myself and believe that I could get myself to where I needed to be. And sometimes was it really scary and was I fearful and lonely? Absolutely. But what I've come out the other side of that, now even thinking, a year later, wow. I mean, when I hear myself, I can't even believe that that's what I did. I always talk about having true strength. And to me, that was my defining moment.
It makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference. So this is one of the things that I talk about when I talk about solo travel is the ability to travel solo, but still have the support of a group. And your examples are wonderful because you were there on a retreat. You were
Yes.
there with even though you didn't know the people, this was
Right.
a supportive group of people who wanted you to be a part of it and everything like that.
Yes.
Yet you still created the experience to be what you wanted and needed it to be. You didn't just depend on the group to fulfill you on it.
Right. Yeah. And that was a huge thing because I did feel that initially. That's so true. I felt like, well, I feel abandoned, or like, why aren't they taking care of me? Why? It was all about, why aren't they doing this? And why aren't they doing that? And oh my gosh, how could that happen? And then that's what I was saying is that I sat there and I looked out, like I went and explored some of the surroundings of the area and took a trip and took taxis and whatever it is. I figured out how to make it happen for me because I thought, I'm not going to go back and be like, well, I just sat there because they didn't do anything for me. I went out there and explored. I went outside the Mayan ruins. I took pictures. I went on the beach. I watched other people having a great time together. And that's why I said I took a look around. I opened my eyes, like seriously, and thought, you made it this far. Do something about it. Don't rely on the other people. Yes, they were there, but you got to do this for yourself. And that was looking back on it now, that was the whole point, is that I went out there and I made it happen for myself. And it just was, it was just the single best gift I could give myself.
Well, I love that. And one of the things that we talk about when going solo is so many people think, okay, well, this is only for single women or, the divorcees or, people who have lost their spouse. Guys, I have interviewed so many married women on this show because it's an essential part of refilling your own cup. Do you agree?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, I wish I could just, in a sense, I wish I could just bottle up all of the experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, for just to just share with people just the clarity and wisdom that you get, and that wherever you are in your life, like you just said, whatever's happening to you, and you could be having a truly amazing, awesome life and not have all those circumstances anyway, but it's just something to experience. The solo journey it was just liberating for me.
So you've done it. You've done this experience. You've come home. What looks and feels different about your life once you've come home?
Everything feels different. It was what I needed. I've always felt fairly self-confident, but oh my gosh, my confidence in just being able to go to anything and be like, I don't have to have a friend come with me. I can go do that on my own. I can discover my goodness, I was immersed in a whole new culture and language and money system, which I would suggest you prepare a little bit beforehand.
Yes.
But again, I was expecting the tribe to take care of me that I didn't need to. So that's just a nugget of wisdom, is that you might want to just, understand that a little bit before you leave. But yes, and so the things that I'm interested in, I tell myself, go for it, go do that, go to that seminar, that workshop, go to that play, go to that museum, go to that movie, do whatever. You don't need to have your husband or your girlfriend. I mean, yeah, it's great, it's fun. We love to have people. I'm a people person, I love it, but I can do it. And the biggest thing for me is the shift of that. I finally realized that I can make things happen in my life because I am actually taking the courage and the opportunity to make them happen. And I'm not relying on other people to make them happen for me.
Okay. So that says a lot right now too. So you're coming home with more confidence. You're coming home, it sounds like, with a different level of determination.
Yeah, some clarity, some real big clarity, and a vision for something bigger than myself. That's just the biggest thing, is that there's so much I need to do and share in my life, and to just live my life and just realize my faith is so much bigger than my fears.
Absolutely. So how did your husband react when you, or your family, or, close friends and the people from work, how did they react when you came home? Because I've been there. I've come home and I've been different. And here's one of the things that I found most interesting. I had shared something with my best friend at one point after returning from some trips, and she's not a solo travel person. She travels for work all the time, but this isn't her jam. And when I came back and I said, I feel like I'm a new me when I returned.
Yeah.
What was most interesting was when she came back and said, it's not the new you. It's who you used to be when you were young. It's like this, when you're young and there's this authentic version of you because society and regular roles and stuff like that hasn't really put you in a particular box. We're so much more free. And she's known me for over 30 years. And so she really had perspective to say, what I'm seeing isn't a new Jenny. It's the Jenny that I remember when we were young. And you're becoming more of who you used to be. And that was huge for me. So I talk a lot about how you can rediscover yourself when you travel, because you're not necessarily confined by those roles and expectations. How does that translate, though, for you when you come home?
Yeah, it really forced me to really reconnect with myself and my soul, because I was, like I said, I was going on this monotonous work, life, activity, this, and I lost myself in it. I lost the self-care. I lost myself. I was defined by the other roles that define me. And so, and it gave me a new perspective again on being flexible, being patient. I'm still working on that. But yeah, and it just forced me to really be still and be in the moment, and that I didn't have to rely on my phone, that type of thing. And I was really needing the time, like you said, to get back to the person you were. And by doing that, I was nourishing myself. I was nourishing my mind, my body, and my soul by immersed in this amazing culture I had no idea was out there, because I just saw it on TV or the internet, and I was actually in it. I was like just living it. And I just needed to really be present while I was there. And that's why I kept telling myself, like, no matter the circumstances, you just need to be present in the situation and the circumstances. And so I really, really tried hard to do that.
So if somebody were coming to you and they were scared about taking their first solo travel adventure, what would be your three key pieces of advice that you'd want to offer them?
Yeah, well, one thing I would say is that, really take a look, what can you really afford to do? And I'm not meaning monetary, but like what is in your wheel? What could you do? So maybe it might be small. You might just want to start in your local community or, within, a certain area. Or maybe you just want to go for it and you just want to get out there. But really, the big thing on that one is really research the trip, the people, what's going to happen. Questions are great. Don't just assume. So it's a big thing is that when you're researching it, don't assume, ask what's going to happen. And so that if you are in situations, because you want it to be beautiful and meaningful. You don't want to get stuck in problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a big thing, is just to make sure you know where you're going, who the people are. So really research it. I would really recommend someone like setting your intention. What do you really want to get out of this weekend or week-long trip or whatever it might be? Because what do you want to gain? What's the perspective you want to have, so that you kind of know where you are before, and again, too, when you get home, what does this trip mean to you? What do you hope to get out of the trip too? And I really recommend to bring a journal and use it. Like actually write it down. Don't just bring it and then you bring it home and there's nothing in it. Really write down all of these experiences, because it's just amazing. Like I'm relying on my memory on all of this. And I really wish I would have wrote it down like a diary. Like I definitely have the time to do that. And so I should have definitely wrote it down, because I'm sure there's some things I'm missing. And it's all part of the process. Like I said, the good, the bad, the positive is all part of the process. So those are my tips. And take pictures too, if you can.
I have some interesting philosophies on picture taking, and
Oh,
they're coming back to bite me though. So I'm not a great photographer, and I I have, read enough of the people talking about how when you're taking pictures, you're more about like capturing the moment for the future rather than taking in the moment for the present.
yep,
And so I consciously, I'm not taking a ton of pictures when I travel.
yep,
However, that has come back to bite me. There are times where I wish I could just look back at some of the pictures and some of the places that are so close to my heart and take that feeling back in. And so should be a good balance. And
yep,
I do recommend taking pictures. Um, but one of the things you talked about too is how you were not connected. You were not on your phone. You were not on social media. It just wasn't even available to you in those instances.
hmm
How did that feel for you? The good and the bad of that.
it was the best thing ever. I loved it. The only thing was in those moments where my husband had no idea, because I hadn't checked into the resort. And so he knew what time my flight left and what time I should have landed. And he had no idea. And so that was, not okay. So that was hard. So I was able to send him a message through somebody else's phone once I was fine. But that's the biggest thing, was that because I have responsibilities, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, and I'm a daughter. And so they were worried about me. And that was the only reason about, you know, idea of that. Otherwise, I loved it. I didn't have to check in. I wasn't posting on social media, to Facebook or anything. And I had my phone with me just for time and all those other things. And so when I talk about pictures, there's only three key pictures I have. One is when I'm sitting on that beach all by myself, and it's not a very great picture. And I have that. And that shows me that even in that moment, and I've shared that picture with some people, like, I'm very proud of it. The second picture I'm very proud of, I went and swam in and I'm probably not saying this right now, a cenote, where it's where the rocks fill in and everything. And so this man-made water, or it's not man-made, but natural-made water system. And there can be fish in there and snakes and whatever. I got in the water with all the locals. We got to this local place that nobody knew, was way back destination. I was scared as heck, and I jumped in, and someone said they took a picture of me, and I'm in the water, and I do not even like to swim in a lake, like around Minnesota. And here I am thinking there could be snakes in this water. There could be nasty things in here. And there's little fish, eating the
Yes.
skin and stuff. And I am sitting here, and I am so proud of those two pictures that I have from my trip, because they show the strength and the courage, and it represents the whole entire trip for me. And then I also have a third picture of the very last night before we left, as a group, when we're all eating outside as the sun sets on the beach. So those three moments for me are pretty defining.
Wow. That's fantastic. You've brought it all together on this. And what's great about doing this podcast is that I don't have to be the one saying, hey, everybody, you should travel solo because it's really good for you and your soul and your heart and your family and all those things. Everybody who's out there who's done it is selling it for me.
Absolutely, they are. Yeah, I mean, that's amazing, and it's great. And that's the thing, is that, yeah, I understand what you're saying, is that you're saying it's great because you know it is. You've lived it, you know it is. But here are these other women in whatever walks of life that they may be, married, divorced, single, whatever, that are doing these trips, these solo trips, for whatever reason in their life. And they're sharing it with you to share their story in hopes that they can inspire other women.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask this question you'd never have to answer, but how old are you?
I am 40.
Okay. So again, this isn't some 20-year-old going off and backpacking to find herself for the first time, which I respect and honor. There's a role for that. This is a midlife woman, married, with parents and kids and responsibilities and passion and renewed excitement and energy to move on with whatever's coming next for her in her life.
Yes.
So that said, I want to make sure that you get a chance to share with our listeners what is coming up for you in your life. You're doing some great things. What
Yeah.
can you share?
Yeah, and that's exactly what the perspective I had, and the change a year later. I actually came home today from my trip, February 2nd.
Wow. 1 year.
Yeah. 1 year ago, I came home to a massive snowstorm.
Wow.
So I mean, I just see the irony in
Perspective.
so many things,
Right?
and now I can giggle and laugh about it at the time, but that's the thing is, so yeah, I've really taken this last year to think about things, and I kept going back to, what do I want to do with my life? Who are the people I want to serve? And absolutely loved my full-time career, being a psychologist and working with students and helping students. Heart, passion. But I realized too that something was missing, and that's the whole reason why I even entertained this idea of traveling solo to something. I was looking for something. I was searching for something. And you travel far enough, you meet yourself. And that's what I did. And that's exactly what I'm doing now. So I am providing and facilitating inclusive retreats and adventures for women to find themselves, search for their mind, body, and soul. And that could be an international or a broad retreat. It could be right here where we live, a one day, an evening, just to be able to give them an opportunity to tell them it's not selfish. Self-care is so important, because if you're not taking care of yourself, you are not taking care of anyone.
Preach it, sister.
And that was just so important to me, is that we need to do that. We need to take care of ourselves. And I want to help women do that. And so that is what my business, Melisa Berg Wellness, focuses on, is this making sure that you are being the beautiful self you are, and so that everybody has a chance to see you.
I love it. I love it. Melisa, where can they connect with you? How can they find you?
Absolutely. So I have a webpage, melisabergwellness.com. I'm also on Facebook, Melisa Berg Wellness, and Instagram, same thing. So I would love it if you would connect with me and say hello.
Cool. And do you have any exciting things coming up in the near future that you want to promote?
Yes. So if you're in the local area, I do one-day retreats. And so those are coming every month, and they might be different. They might be evening or one day. And there is in the works, of course, because out of this whole experience, why would I not design an international retreat for women? And so that is coming hopefully within the next year or sooner.
That's awesome. Melisa, I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story with us. And for anyone who's interested in not just learning more about what Melisa has done through her experience, but actually starting to craft that kind of creative and not just creative, self discovery type of event for yourself, I would encourage you to reach out to Melisa, connect with her, follow what she's got going on, and who knows, maybe a year from now you'll be on a retreat with her somewhere.
I certainly hope so.
Great. Melisa, it's been fun, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right. Thanks, Jennifer.
Wasn't it great to hear the stories that Melisa shared with us today? It's important to remember that even when you're lost, you can still find yourself, find strength, and find confidence. You're never really alone, even when you're traveling solo. We've reached the end of today's episode, but the conversation doesn't have to end there. Go to www.transformviatravel to join the Go Solo Sisterhood Facebook community and share your thoughts. If you've liked what you've heard, please invite your friends to listen to Go Solo Live. And if you want to be a guest, reach out to me directly at jennifer@transformviatravel.com. Until next time, remember, go solo, not alone.